Hey everyone, welcome to E3 2017. We have a chance today to sit down with the head of Xbox, Phil Spencer, right after the reveal of, I guess not Project Scorpio, now we're Xbox One X. We got to get on brand.
Yeah, I think the name will still always resonate with me in Project Scorpio. Code names, I love code names.
Do you ever think of sticking with it? Because I think like when it was announced, it was a little, not necessarily out there, but because a lot of code names are out there.
That's right.
Just like the Wii or anything, like the strangest kind of names can eventually sort of settle as like.
Well, Xbox came from that. Like the original Xbox was the Direct Xbox, because DirectX is the graphics foundation, and it wasn't supposed to be Xbox.
Right.
And that's just like it's stuck. So with Scorpio, you know, trademarks and stuff, as I'm sure you guys are. Literally, it's just really
well aware of the fun.
So trying to land like global rights for Scorpio is kind of tough. So we wanted the family. So Xbox One, we wanted to be part of the name because obviously if you buy an S and then you buy an X, your games are going to move with you, accessories are going to move with you. So we thought about a few names. We couldn't use Elite because we'd already used that on Xbox One. S was taken.
Pro was taken.
Yeah, that's right. And then like
someone go to the thesaurus and see like what are the
other letters or words and. The whole thing I did on stage about no power greater than X, I think is something that was definitely true. Like it was one of those mantras for us early on, so we landed on that. And I mean, the only challenge I think we have is S, X, S, like trying to do the differentiation. But it's, and I had to make sure I enunciated well on stage. But from a product standpoint, we thought the name really signified what we were trying to do with this console, so it stuck and the team likes it.
And so, you know, the big, you know, image you guys are trying to project with X. I'll just X just so we can cut to the chase. You know, emphasizing 4K, like emphasizing HDR. Like it's been a while since we've like had someone get super excited about teraflops on stage. But this like the opening like 20 minutes or so of the event was like really hammering that home as like this is part of what is important to this box, that it is a powerful box. And I have to imagine some of that was some of the narrative with Xbox One was like because of choices made with like Kinect and other things like that, and how those have shifted over the years. It seemed like you guys wanted to come out and say this is vital to how we are talking about this specific machine, is that it is the most advanced.
Yeah, I mean, we have a line, not to just go all PR on you, but we've got the Xbox One S, which we know for most people is going to be the thing that people buy. It's $249 right now in the US, price point's important. That's the thing. If you're a family who's just getting into gaming, hey, here's a great console for you. Supports HDR, 4K Blu-ray, all the stuff we talked about last year. For this console, and I've tried to be consistent through the year, this is a premium console. We designed it specifically to support native 4K gaming.
Right.
Doesn't mean every developer that's the way they're going to use the power in the box, but that was a design point for us. So when we're talking about the X console, it was really important for us to land both on stage and having Cream, who's head of our engineering team, which is fantastic to get him on stage, kind of just talking about our design ethos for this, what we were trying to deliver, the world's most powerful console, able to deliver true 4K gaming. We wanted to make sure people understood, and not just at like a one number, a 6 teraflop. And I know sometimes the beginning of the press briefing, maybe people go into like, oh, there's a lot of numbers, a lot of specs. But it was from the very beginning of the amount of RAM that we have in there, the speed of the RAM, the speed of the hard drive, the memory transfer speeds, CPU, GPU, all of this thing was around hitting a certain design point with the console, and the team did an amazing job landing it, and we were very proud of it. And the feedback we've been getting from the third-party developers has been fantastic.
As you think about, transitioning from the audience that watches E3, right? Like you can say 4K HDR. Like, those mean something to those people, but like, recently I went out and helped a friend buy a TV, and like things like 4K HDR come with a lot of those TVs now.
That's right.
They have he asked me like, what does 4K mean? I was like, it just means it looks better, right? So like, is the X not really targeted at those people, because it's more targeted at people who know what that is, want to take advantage of it, because otherwise, when they're looking at these two boxes, like, why is this one twice as much when I don't really understand, like, what do I get out of 4K?
From a customer standpoint, 50% of the people who say that are interested in this actually still run a 1080p television.
So I have a projector, 1080p, and like for me, like the dream console for me is 1080p, 60 frames a second. Like that is not going to happen, because 4K it seems like a little more achievable in terms of sort of like how developers can scale for that.
Well, you're going to see 60 frames per second games on this box, absolutely. Also, the super sampling that we do from the internal 4K buffer that we have to the 1080p display, you will see games that look better on your projector than you've ever seen on any other console, even at 1080p. Like, that was important to us. In terms of the initial question about designing, how do I explain it to your friend who's buying it? You know, I would say somebody who hasn't entered this console generation yet, somebody who's just thinking, hey, maybe I've just bought my 4K TV, I'd like some more 4K content, maybe this 4K Blu-ray drive is interesting to me, so I can go get...
There's really not that much stuff. Like, you get a 4K TV and once you go into the on-demand and Netflix stuff, like...
That's right. Well, it's one of the reasons we put the drive in there, like Planet Earth. For that person, the S is probably the console your friend should go get, right? If he's like, hey, what's it? I think of it like our Elite controller. And 2 years ago, I was here and we announced the Elite controller, and everybody's like, what are you talking, $150 for a controller? Nobody's gonna go buy that thing. Then we started getting it in the hands of people, and people started playing it, like, hey, this is the best this is the best controller I've ever felt. And then when we shipped the thing, we couldn't keep them in stock. Like, every one we made flew off. Now, if somebody had never played a video game, when I say you should go buy a $150 controller, no. Like, go buy the $50 controller, right? Go play the one that comes with your console. That's right. You're all good. And for this box, if somebody's just, I want the best, then that's what we tried to go build. Somebody like you who's played games, like knows what 60 frames per second is, knows what the difference between 1080p and 4K is. Somebody that says, hey, third-party games, first-party games, I want the thing that's just gonna play the games better than any other console out there. That's who we designed this for. So, like, next year, we're gonna sell a lot more S's than we are of the X. There's just no doubt about that. And we knew that all along. And this is some of the narrative around, okay, where should we put this, both from a price point standpoint, and is this like the thing that brings, that's gonna rise Xbox up? Like, you know, I'm about keeping our customers happy, gaining new customers through our S console and the work that we do both on Windows and everywhere else. And this is for a gamer who's in the experience today, whether a PC gamer or you've got a current gen console, and you say, I want the very best version of the games that's out there. That's the box that we designed.
How much of a technical challenge was it to get the OG Xbox, as we're calling it, games to run backwards compatibility, and relative to that, how are you choosing games, and how do I get you to put a Togi on the top of that list?
I like a Togi.
Jet Set Radio Future, Gun Valkyrie, had weird controls, but was an awesome launch game. Like, how are you determining that, and how hard was that relative to getting like 360 up and running?
A little bit of geekdom. 360 was more difficult. It's a PowerPC chip. The original Xbox was an x86 chip. This is an x86 chip. So from an instruction set standpoint, getting the only reason I call it OG Xbox sounds a little silly when I say that, but like, I want to call it the Xbox One. I want to call it Xbox.
When it started and we saw the logo, Austin and I were looking at each other and going like, how's he gonna phrase this? Like, I want to be in those meetings where they talked through like, what are our options?
No, what it was is, I'm going to say OG, and they said, you can't say OG. I said, look, it's the thing that people want. They'll get it, and then just put the logo behind me and play the startup sound.
And then everyone will scream, you're fine.
So whether it worked or not, like in terms of people understanding what I was talking about, you know, I love video games as an art form. I think there are games from PS1, PS2, N64, original Xbox that people should play. I think you should have access to the games you're talking about. How we pick, we've got a collection of games that we want to bring. We showed one of them. We'll talk about more. It's coming this year, so you'll get the full list. One of the things, though, not that people have to care about this, it's hard because some of these games are like 15 years old, and you go search for, the rights are all gone. Like, if we were talking about music rights before this started, like, music rights are not written in video games. The rights
those contracts expire.
That's right.
And companies go bankrupt.
Yeah, like, how do I go get a THQ game to realize? Serious, like, you know, there's these companies that I go out and like, you try to find the developer, you try to find the publisher, and they're just not in business. It's why we didn't stand up there and say 100 games like we did with 360. 360, just because of time proximity, was a little bit easier for us to do the math. I've got a collection of games, a lot of them on the list that you just talked about, that are important to me from that when I was there, and games that I think were meaningful, both in terms of gaming, but also the Xbox legacy, and I want to bring those back. We're actually going to talk a little bit about this over the summer, because we're seeing some pretty special things there, but just in terms of frame rate response, and even some of the kind of color depth and things that we have, the original Xbox games will play better on S and X just the same way the 360 games do.
Is there any technical reason you guys couldn't at some point bring sort of like Xbox 360 original Xbox compatibility to Windows at all? Is that something that will always just be exclusive to the Xbox family, or is there any reason that couldn't someday become something that expanded onto people's computers?
It's just time and effort. So the rights actually get slightly more complicated in certain
platform.
Yeah, so it's something I want to do. I've said it before. Like, I think these games should be played. and I love the fact that we'd be able to bring them to both to Windows. Also, and a little bit of a tangent, but I even think about things like Game Pass.
Right.
And I say, hey, maybe somebody doesn't want to go out and buy Crimson Skies. They've never heard of Crimson Skies. What is this thing? But Game Pass is an interesting way for us to introduce these games to a new audience who doesn't have the disc anymore, doesn't know how to buy them digital, I've never heard of this game, and then you got your $10 thing and you say, oh yeah, sure, I'll click on it and download it and try it. And I've said before, I want to bring Game Pass to Windows. I want to expand that. So as I think about the platforms that these games land on, and even the way they land on them from a business model, I think we got a lot of work to do ahead of us, but I'm excited.
A lot of third-party games, are going to be enhanced by running on the X. I think people were hoping to see a little more, what is Microsoft first-party working on? Obviously, Halo 5 came out not too long ago. Gears of War 4 just came out. Sea of Thieves is coming, but people wondering, what big new worlds are they working on?
Right.
So, can you speak to what Microsoft's investment in first-party, and I guess specifically sort of like new worlds, that you're sort of working on for the future?
I've seen some of the stuff that you've written and people kind of asking and questioning about our investment in first party and how important that is, both as a gamer who says, hey, I just want things to go play so my kid's not chewing on my controller, if I remember that line. But what?
Well,
was that?
Yep. It was, let me be clear.
What?
I own 3 of these controllers. One's on my PC, one's on my Xbox. I was like, wow, you know what? Owned. That's how you know he pays attention.
I do pay attention. I read it.
You know what? It's because when I tweeted that, then people started including you.
No,
in the
don't
tweet
try to.
chain.
I follow you. I follow you.
I know.
No, it's so. I mean, you and I have actually been doing this for a while. Like this sounds like total PR line. Like I love my job. I love being a gamer. I've been a gamer since I was a young kid playing games with my dad. And like I care about our platform, and I want to make it as good as I possibly can as the head of Xbox. When I started in this job 3 years ago, hardware was a real focus for us because I thought we had more work to do there. And S we shipped last year, X is coming out this year.
Right.
I love our hardware line. Xbox Live was something I really wanted to focus on in terms of cross-platform, getting it on iOS, Android, Windows, focusing on our stuff coming to Windows, because I really want people to play great games on the devices they want to go play. Our first party, my previous job was head of first party, is a critical part of that equation. Yesterday, sitting here today, showing our games, it was about 42 games, filling up the time. But I know people want to see what we're investing in new, and we are investing in new things. We've signed things just recently that I thought about, hey, from a PR standpoint, it'd be really easy for me to go put a trailer on screen, even though I know the game's not coming for 2.5, 3 years.
Right.
I didn't want to do that. And I understand certain people will say, well, hey, that gives me confidence in the future of Xbox. This is kind of a cheesy line, but I'll say, trust that this is important to us as a platform. From the CEO of the company on down, if you talk to Satya about it, he would say, I understand we need to invest in content in the gaming space. And that is important, and we are going to invest. And I love the games that we showed. Sea of Thieves, I thought Crackdown looked fantastic. I thought State of Decay looked really good. Super Lucky's Tale is a new first-party game. We got to re-announce Ori, the next Ori coming out, and Ori's one of my favorite games, frankly, of all time.
Not enough people played that game.
That is a fantastic game. But I know what you're asking about. It's like, hey, there's kind of big AAA console
games.
Games
That only the Microsofts, the Sonys, the Nintendos of the world can put the resources, like platform holders. Only certain types of games those sorts of companies can make.
Yeah, and I hear that, and I'm committed to that. So and today, now, I wanted to talk about things that if you go buy this console this year, you're going to get to go play in this year. But I hear that question, and I don't want your kid chewing on the controller anymore. So I'll continue to work to deliver games there. And it's like we did it on hardware, we did it on platform and compatibility and everything, and we will do this on first party as well. It is critically important.
Well, Phil, thanks so much for your time, and good luck with X.
Thank you. I appreciate it.